Cruise ships feel like paradise. Sunsets melting into the ocean. Live music drifting across the deck. Champagne glasses clinking under string lights. Thousands of people relaxing at the same time. But right now, on almost every major cruise ship at sea, someone is being quietly watched. Not because they're dangerous. Not because they look suspicious. Not because of who they are. Because of something they did. And the most surprising part? Most of the time, they have no idea. Before you imagine hidden agents in sunglasses, relax. This isn't a spy movie. It's something far more practical. And far more fascinating. Because cruise ships are not just floating resorts. They are floating cities. And cities need systems. A modern cruise ship can carry 5,000 to 7,000 passengers. Add another 1,000 crew members. That's the population of a small town, placed in the middle of the ocean, hours or days away from land. Now ask yourself something. If something goes wrong out there, who handles it? There's no calling local police. No nearby hospital 5 minutes away. No backup arriving in seconds. Everything has to be handled on board. Which means cruise ships operate with a level of coordination most passengers never see. Security teams, medical units, digital tracking systems, surveillance networks, incident reporting structures, all running 24 hours a day. And here's where things get interesting. Not all passengers are monitored the same way. The vast majority of guests go through their entire cruise completely unnoticed by security systems beyond basic safety coverage. But a small percentage? They trigger extra attention. Not alarms. Not sirens. Just attention. And it usually starts with something that seems small. A moment on a balcony. A second too long leaning over a railing. A phone stretched out for the perfect selfie. A foot placed on a ledge that was never meant to hold weight. To the passenger, it feels harmless. Spontaneous. Fun. To the ship, it looks like risk. Cruise ships take edge behavior extremely seriously. Open decks and balconies are safe when used properly. But the second someone climbs, leans dangerously, or attempts a stunt, the equation changes. Because out at sea, prevention is everything. Security officers monitor public areas through camera systems. Crew members are trained to spot unsafe behavior instantly. The response is usually subtle. A crew member walks by. A polite reminder is given. A presence is established. And then something shifts behind the scenes. The system remembers. That passenger is not labeled as a criminal. They are not followed dramatically down hallways. But if another risky behavior appears, security reacts faster the second time. Cruise ships operate on patterns. One risky move might be a lapse in judgment. Two begins to form a trend. And trends are what security teams pay attention to. But balcony behavior is just the beginning. Let's talk about something far more common. Alcohol. Cruises and drink packages are almost inseparable. Unlimited cocktails. Frozen drinks by the pool. Late-night bars with ocean views. For most passengers, it's part of the fun. And for most passengers, it never becomes a problem. But when alcohol crosses a certain line, monitoring increases quietly. Not because drinking is forbidden. Because behavior changes. Slower reflexes. Louder voices. Poor balance near staircases. Arguments that escalate faster than they should. Bars on board are trained to recognize when someone has had enough. When a guest is cut off, it is often noted internally. Not announced. Not broadcast. Logged. Why? Because alcohol-related incidents are one of the most common preventable risks at sea. Falls on wet decks. Fights outside nightclubs. Attempts to enter crew-only areas out of confusion. Dangerous leaning over railings late at night. If a passenger becomes visibly intoxicated and disruptive, security does not immediately confront them unless necessary. Instead, they increase awareness. Cameras are observed more closely. Crew members are positioned nearby. Movements are monitored. Not to shame, to prevent. And here's something that surprises most people. Sometimes the passenger never realizes how close they were to a bigger problem, because the system stepped in early. But alcohol is only one trigger. Conflict is another. On a cruise ship, thousands of strangers share tight spaces for days. Elevators, buffets, pool chairs, excursion lines. Small misunderstandings can grow quickly. If an argument escalates beyond a normal disagreement, it gets documented. If a complaint becomes aggressive, it's recorded. If security has to step in even once, a report is created. This doesn't mean someone is in serious trouble. It means the system is building context. Cruise security relies heavily on incident history. A single argument may mean nothing, but multiple disturbances within a short time frame? That changes how the ship responds. The next time that passenger enters a crowded nightclub, security may already be aware. If they attend a late event, staff may be positioned strategically. Not visibly hovering, just present. Because ships would rather prevent a fight than break one up. And this is where the psychology becomes fascinating. Most people assume surveillance equals suspicion. On cruise ships, it equals risk management. The difference is subtle but important. Suspicion targets identity. Risk management targets behavior. And behavior is fluid. Anyone can shift categories at any time. A calm passenger can have one reckless moment. A responsible guest can drink too much one evening. A minor argument can spiral under the wrong conditions. Cruise ships are designed to absorb those moments before they turn into emergencies. Which means the system is constantly asking one question. Could this escalate? If the answer is maybe, monitoring increases. Quietly. But we haven't even touched the most misunderstood category yet. Because not all monitoring is about discipline. Some of it is about care. And in many cases, the passengers being watched the most closely are the ones who need protection. That's where things get even more interesting. Sometimes the passengers who receive the most attention on board are not the loudest. They're not arguing. They're not climbing railings. They're not causing scenes. They're quiet. And that's exactly why the system pays attention. Imagine an elderly passenger traveling alone. They miss a dinner reservation. They seem slightly disoriented near the elevators. A crew member notices they're having trouble remembering their cabin number. Individually, none of these moments mean much. Together, they create a pattern. Cruise staff are trained to notice vulnerability just as much as risk. If someone appears confused, fatigued, emotionally distressed, or physically unstable, information is quietly shared between departments. Not gossip. Coordination. Guest services may flag the situation. Medical may be informed. Security may be advised to keep passive awareness. No dramatic interventions. Just readiness. Because at sea, small health concerns can escalate quickly. A passenger who faints once might faint again. Someone who experiences chest discomfort may need rapid follow-up. A guest showing signs of cognitive confusion could accidentally wander into unsafe areas. So yes, sometimes a passenger is being watched. But not because they're in trouble. Because someone wants to make sure they're okay. And this brings us to one of the most serious triggers on board. A missing passenger report. When someone is reported missing on a cruise ship, everything shifts instantly. There is no waiting period. No assumption that they'll just turn up. Time is critical at sea. Security initiates internal protocols immediately. Keycard activity is reviewed. Cabin door logs are checked. Cameras are analyzed. Last known movements are tracked. Announcements may not be made publicly right away. Cruise lines aim to avoid panic unless necessary. But behind the scenes, coordination is intense. The ship becomes a puzzle. Where were they last seen? Who were they with? Did they disembark at the last port? Did they return? If someone fails to return before departure, port authorities may be contacted. If someone disappears on board during sailing, deck searches can be initiated quietly. And once the person is located, monitoring often continues. Was it intoxication? A medical issue? Emotional distress? Simple miscommunication? Security doesn't just close the case and move on. They assess the cause. Because if someone went missing once due to confusion or instability, the ship needs to prevent a second occurrence. This is not about punishment. It's about containment of risk. And here's something many people don't realize. Cruise ships operate under international maritime law. That means jurisdiction can become complicated depending on location. If a serious incident occurs, documentation must be thorough. Which is why behavioral logging is so detailed. Every significant interaction, every security involvement, every medical emergency, all recorded. Not to build cases against passengers, to protect everyone on board. Now let's talk about a different kind of trigger. Restricted areas. Cruise ships are layered environments. There are spaces designed for guests, and there are spaces designed strictly for crew operations. The bridge, engine control rooms, crew corridors, emergency equipment lockers, security offices. Access points to these areas are monitored constantly. Keycards track movement. Doors trigger alerts. Cameras cover blind spots. Sometimes passengers wander accidentally into crew corridors, thinking it's a shortcut. Most of the time, a crew member simply redirects them. But repeated attempts? That's different. If someone tries multiple times to access restricted zones, security takes note. Because those areas are critical infrastructure. Tampering with safety equipment, even as a joke, becomes serious quickly. Opening emergency cabinets. Interfering with lifeboat mechanisms. Disabling smoke detectors in cabins. Yes, it happens. And once it does, monitoring escalates. The passenger may not be immediately removed from the ship unless the violation is severe. But their profile changes internally. Security becomes proactive. Where are they going? Who are they interacting with? Are there further attempts? Cruise ships cannot afford second chances when it comes to safety systems. But here's where things become even more nuanced. Monitoring isn't always reactive. Sometimes it's preventative based on situational awareness. Large events on board, like themed parties or late-night deck celebrations, naturally increase risk levels. Alcohol flows more freely. Energy is higher. Crowds are denser. During these moments, security presence increases. Not because someone has done something wrong, because the environment itself carries higher potential for escalation. If a passenger already has prior documented disturbances earlier in the voyage, their behavior during high-risk events may receive closer observation. It's layered awareness. Think of it like traffic monitoring. Most drivers pass through unnoticed. But if someone was previously driving erratically, law enforcement is more attentive the next time they appear in a high-risk zone. Cruise ships function similarly. Patterns matter. Context matters. Environment matters. And here's the psychological twist. Most people who are being monitored never feel watched. Why? Because cruise security prioritizes subtlety. There are no flashing lights. No dramatic escorts. No visible tailing down hallways. Officers blend in. Crews circulate naturally. Cameras operate silently. The entire system is designed to maintain the illusion of uninterrupted relaxation. Because the moment passengers feel unsafe, the vacation atmosphere collapses. So security becomes invisible by design. And that invisibility creates a fascinating paradox. The safer the cruise feels, the more effective the monitoring likely is. Now consider this. Cruise ships carry thousands of strangers across open water, sometimes days from the nearest shore. Every decision on board must consider the collective. One passenger's reckless moment can endanger others. One altercation can spiral into chaos. One medical emergency can divert a ship. One security breach can compromise safety systems. So when certain passengers are watched more closely, it isn't personal. It's statistical. It's preventative. It's strategic. And we still haven't addressed the biggest misconception of all. Because many people assume cruise lines profile passengers. But in reality, the system doesn't care who you are. It cares what you do. Behavior is the trigger. And behavior can change at any moment. That's what makes this system dynamic. Anyone can move from unnoticed to observed and back again. Which leads to the most important question. If monitoring is based entirely on actions, where exactly is the line? The line is rarely dramatic. It is not a single mistake. Not one loud laugh. Not one extra drink. Not one wrong turn down a hallway. The line appears when behavior becomes a pattern. Cruise ships are not scanning faces looking for villains. They are scanning situations looking for escalation. One unsafe selfie might earn a warning. 2 might earn awareness. 3 might earn quiet, continuous observation. 1 heated argument may fade into the background. Multiple disturbances build a profile of risk. 1 medical episode triggers care. Repeated instability triggers support planning. The system is not emotional. It is adaptive. And here is the truth most passengers never consider. You are already part of the system the moment you step on board. Your keycard logs movement. Your purchases create timestamps. Public areas are recorded. Events are documented. Not because anyone expects you to do something wrong, but because when thousands of people share a moving structure in the middle of the ocean, structure is survival. And here's the reassuring part. For the overwhelming majority of passengers, monitoring never intensifies. You board. You explore. You relax. You disembark. Completely unnoticed beyond standard safety coverage. No file. No internal notes. No increased awareness. Just another happy traveler enjoying the sea. The passengers who experience extra observation almost always triggered it themselves through behavior. Risk. Escalation. Violation. Vulnerability. And sometimes, that extra attention prevents something far worse from happening. A fall avoided. A fight diffused. A medical emergency caught early. A confused guest guided safely back to their cabin. You never see those moments. Because they are designed to disappear. That is the hidden brilliance of cruise security. Its success looks like nothing happened. No headlines. No viral case. No dramatic confrontations. Just smooth sailing. And if you ever do notice a crew member appearing at the perfect time, a subtle presence near a tense interaction, a staff member checking on someone who seems unsteady, an officer calmly redirecting a guest away from a restricted door, that is not coincidence. That is a floating city functioning exactly as it should. Because the real goal is not control. It is preservation. Preserving safety. Preserving atmosphere. Preserving the illusion that you are simply drifting through paradise without a care in the world. And maybe that illusion is the most impressive part of all. Thousands of strangers. Open ocean. Multiple nationalities. Different personalities. Unlimited variables. Yet day after day, voyage after voyage, most cruises unfold without major incident. Not by luck. By design. So the next time you step onto a ship and feel that wave of excitement as land fades behind you, remember this. If you follow the rules, respect the environment, treat others well, stay aware of your limits, you will never cross the invisible line. You will never feel watched. You will simply experience what cruising was meant to be. Effortless, relaxing, free. And somewhere behind the scenes, an invisible system will continue doing its job so well, you forget it exists at all. If this video was worth your time, a like is the best way to support our channel. And if you'd like to be here for what comes next, subscribe and stay with us. There is always more ahead. As always, stay curious, and I'll see you at sea.